Hey guys, Chase here and welcome back to another video. Today, we'll be taking a look back at the games that started it all, Pokemon Red and Blue, and more specifically, the sprites of each of the original 151 Pokemon of the franchise's very first generation. This will be an in-depth 3-part series to make sure that we give plenty of attention to each of these sprites, and all of their beautiful, strange, and sometimes downright terrifying glory. Because some of these are pretty terrifying, aren't they? Now before we get going, do keep in mind that Pokemon Red and Blue were really only the original games for Western audiences, because Pokemon Red and Green, the actual first games, were released in Japan on February 27th, 1996, which we now know as Pokemon Day. Pokemon Red and Blue were released a few years later in North America on September 28th, 1998. These games are of course now iconic, and for many of us they served as our first introduction to the franchise and kicked off what can only now be described as a worldwide sensation. As a matter of fact, many people don't realize that Pokemon is the world's largest media franchise if you account for the games, the TCG, the merchandise, the anime, the movies, and so on. Yep, you heard that right. Pokemon is bigger than any Disney franchise, bigger than any movie franchise, bigger than any other video game franchise, bigger than even Franklin the Turtle. Huh? If you can believe it. So given that fact, it's kind of amazing to look back on the original Game Boy games, Red, Green, Blue, and later Yellow, and recognize that these were the genesis of this amazingly popular and beloved franchise that we all know and love today, especially given that these were by no means perfect games. The original Gen 1 games are notoriously buggy, full of glitches, oversights, exploits, strange battle mechanics, and at times, they're just downright weird. But for me, that's part of the charm, especially when you understand that Game Freak never intended or expected Pokemon to blow up the way that it did. And if you look at certain aspects of the Gen 1 games, that's kind of apparent, and it definitely applies to the original appearance of the original 151. There are, of course, many notorious examples that a lot of fans point to. But if you're like me, you may have not taken the time to take a close look at all of the original 151 sprites. Again, I use the word original loosely, considering that Red and Green came first and they had their own set of sprites, which in many cases are even weirder than Red and Blue's. Or if you started with a more recent generation, you may have not even seen these at all. You might be surprised to find that in the late 90s, a lot of Pokemon looked different than how they look today. Some by a little and some by a lot. Today, we'll be looking at the first 50 or so be sure to stay tuned for the rest. Also, I'll have the original cries of each Pokemon play as they appear on screen. And for rating, because this is so subjective, rather than giving a numerical score on a scale of 1 to 10 or anything like that, I'm just going to go through each of these and give you my take, if I think they're good, bad, horrendous, amazing, whatever, and then throw out a few of my favorites at the end. Because one of the sprites that I think is terrible, you might think is amazing. And ultimately, that's what makes life interesting, isn't it? Different strokes, as they say. So without further ado, let's take a look at the sprites from Pokemon Red and Blue, beginning with Pokemon numero uno, Bulbasaur.
Alright, first up we have Bulbasaur, the very first Pokemon. Well, the first according to the National Dex, anyway. I actually really like this one. The eyes are a little bit weird, but I do like this jumping pose with his front legs out like that, like he's leaping. I feel like you don't really get to see this much with Bulbasaur, so that's pretty cool. I actually kind of like the sprite from Red and Green for Bulbasaur a little bit better. It just looks more like Bulbasaur to me, but this one's pretty cool. Overall, pretty decent sprite. And now on to Ivysaur. This one is actually really unusual, with it standing on its hind legs like that, and its face looking a little more frog-like or reptilian than usual. This one's a little weird to me, although I don't hate it. It's not really what you think of when you think of Ivysaur nowadays, but I still kinda like it. A little weird, a little animalistic, I guess you could say, more than usual, but really not a bad sprite. I kinda dig it. And Venusaur. I actually really like this one. I like the open mouth with the teeth showing. I think the perspective on the flower on its back is a little bit off, but honestly, this is about as close to modern day Venusaur that you can get. It's a complex design, it's really intricate, it's kind of menacing. Honestly, I really like this one. Charmander, one of my favorites personally. Definitely my starter of choice when it comes to Gen 1, like probably a lot of people. Makes the first gym a little bit harder though, obviously. I actually really like this sprite. I like how the fire is a little more basic on his tail. It's just the one single shade of orange over the tail, with the part, with the fire over the tail, that part of the tail being a little bit darker. That's kind of a nice touch. The pose is a little bit weird. It looks like he's kind of dancing to the side, back and forth or something like that. The eyes are a little different. Doesn't quite look like a modern day Charmander, what you think of when you think of Charmander, but honestly, this one's pretty solid. I like this one overall quite a bit. Alright, for Charmeleon, I really like this one. It's interesting how much stockier he is than what we're used to seeing in some of the more modern games. In the newer games, he's more slender. I think even like in the anime and artwork, you see him as a little more Velociraptor-like. He's a little more slender. His arms are different. Overall, like his limbs, just in general, the tail, the legs, the arms, he's just a little more thicker than what you're used to seeing. But again, the flame over the tail with a bit of tail and shadow behind the flame is a really nice effect. His head is a little bit wider. Similar to what we'll see in Charizard coming up next. The arm pose is really cool as well. If he's not scratching his armpit, he just finished a critical hit slash attack, which is pretty sweet. Like this one a lot. Alright, and now on the Charizard, the Gen 1 Pokemon as far as I'm concerned. Sorry Charizard haters. I really like this sprite. It's got just about everything you would want. The perspective of his head, kind of closer to you. The wings behind him is really, really cool. It doesn't quite look like Charizard that we're used to seeing nowadays with the head a little bit wider, but he just looks like this lumbering, massive dragon that's just about to light you up and eat for breakfast. I really, really like it. It's an awesome sprite. I don't know that we've seen another sprite quite like this one. He looks like he just got woken up from a nap and he's ready to take somebody out. Pretty awesome. Alright, Squirtle. This one, I don't know. I'm just not sure about this one. His eyes are different, but that is the case for a lot of the sprites in Gen 1. I don't know. There's just something about the edges not being defined, where you've got some of the pixels that aren't black kind of dispersed throughout the outline of the sprite overall. His limbs are a little bit weird. I don't know. He just kind of looks like a baby doll or something to me. The arms are too short, the legs are too short, the tail looks weird, the head is just, I don't know, there's just something off about it, kind of too simplistic maybe. I'm actually not a huge fan of this particular sprite of Squirtle. Alright, Wartortle. This one's better. This one's better than Squirtle for sure. There's something about the head that just looks too round to me, too cartoony. The eyes are a little bit off. I don't know, it looks kind of flat. It just looks like, I don't know, like an enemy from an NES Mario game or something to me. It's a little too smooth looking. Kind of hard to put my finger on it, but kind of similar to Squirtle. The arms and the legs just look a little too, I don't know, gingerbread man-like or something. It's just a little too flat, a little too simplistic. Face a little too cartoony for me to say that I like this one. Not terrible, but definitely not my favorite. Sheesh, this sprite. This one's a doozy now. I don't even know where to begin. Oh my gosh. Like, what happened? Like, first of all, he looks like an overinflated mob boss that overdid it on the Baked Ziti. I mean, he's just, something ain't right. Like, I don't think the cannons are placed correctly. They're like coming out of his shoulder joint or something like that instead of the shell and the usual place that you would expect it. The perspective's off, even on top of it being too giant and bloated and too round. I mean, I actually like this one for how terrible it is and the facial expression of how menacing he looks. Like, it's really, really bad. I mean, he's like, look at that. He looks like he's about to sit on somebody or something. Y'all got any more rare candies? You better have more, or I'm gonna sit on you. Alright, Caterpie. This one's pretty straightforward. This one is actually great. I mean, there's no weaker Pokemon than Caterpie, but as far as sprites go, this is pretty spot on. This looks pretty much exactly like what you see in art and so on nowadays. I mean, it's Caterpie. What more can I say? Very well done. Alright, Metapod. Similar to Caterpie, this one's pretty straightforward. It's Metapod. However, He's turned a weird direction that you're not used to seeing, but I'll give that a pass because other than that, it is exactly Metapod. I mean, it matches like Ken Sugimori's art and everything like that. It looks great. I love the sheen down the side of the edge of the cocoon body there. No complaints for me. I'm not gonna lie, Butterfree sprite is fantastic. I mean, look at the detail in the wings. Look at the compound eye effect on the eyes. I mean, this one is just perfection. I don't know that there's honestly a better sprite than Butterfree sprite from Red and Blue. It is really, really good. And that's saying something. I mean, it's Butterfree. It's like one of the weakest Pokemon in the game, but it's really good. I mean, no complaints for me on this one whatsoever. Fantastic. Okay, Weedle. This one, I don't know. This one's always like the head. His head looks offset, like too far to the right or something. The body looks weird. I don't know. I'm not necessarily a Weedle hater, but something's off about this one. I think it's the setting of the head. Like his head got like moved to the side too far or something like that. Not a fan of this one. This one's unique for the very obvious reason that the stinger hands are coming out of the cocoon. And I don't know that we've seen that in any game since. So it's really cool. The eyes are really cool. He's kind of got that alien look going on. Kind of sinister looking, like he's reaching out to sting you even though the rest of his body can't move. Honestly, I really like this one. No complaints on this one whatsoever. I don't know. Beedrill in Red and Blue, he just looks a little too humanoid or something. The legs are kind of strange, how they're kind of thicker, except at the joints where they're like super skinny. The wings look odd. I don't know what something's not right here. I'm not like a huge Beedrill fan to begin with. Something's off about this sprite. I don't know what it is. I think the legs have a lot to do with it, but overall, not the best sprite in my opinion. Not a huge fan of this one. Whew, I tell you what. That is one sadistic looking bird right there. The eyes. I've never been able to do this one because of the eyes. If it wasn't for that, it'd be a different story. But those eyes, they're staring right into your soul. Pidgeotto sprite I actually quite like. I don't know what it is, but it's like the body, like that kind of plump looking body. It just kind of reminds me of like a pigeon or something sitting on a fence post. I don't know, I like it. I think it's a nice representation of the upgrade, the evolution from Pidgey. I like the crest, coming off the top of the head. To me, I mean, it's just a basic bird, but that's what the Pidgey line is. So I have no problems with this one whatsoever. I kind of like the heavier, heftier, plumper Pidgeotto. No problems. I like this sprite just fine. Oof. This is another doozy. I don't even know what to say. Pidgeot, I mean, if I had to pick between like the two starter route birds from Red and Blue, I mean, I'm going to go with Pidgeot. However, this sprite is atrocious. I'm sorry. It's like the body and the head have morphed into one piece. I mean, they could have had its wings out. They could have shown it in a more fierce pose. It actually looks like it looks like it should be the middle stage, honestly, of the line. This is bad. I don't know what they were thinking on this one, but not good. I mean, there's not enough distinction from Pidgeotto, first of all. And then second of all, the head being like part of the stomach. Like it doesn't even have a neck. Like what is this thing? Not a good one. Sorry. Rattata. I mean, this one's not bad. It's not bad. But the thing with it is it looks like it's like a figurine. Like it's made of plastic or something and it's not real. I don't know if it's the perspective and the fact that you can't see one of its hind legs. I don't know. But there's something off about it. It just doesn't look lifelike, like a living thing. It looks like a plastic version of what the real sprite would have been. Rattata sprites in Gold, Silver, Crystal are fantastic. This one is just not doing it for me. Not terrible, but not a huge fan either. Raticate. I am actually a huge fan of this sprite. It's really, really good. The perspective looks right. I like the teeth, the open mouth. It looks like, half of his body is his head / mouth, which I think is fine in this case. Like, that's the defining characteristic of Raticate, is the massive jaws and the sharp teeth, you know, for hyperfanging some folks. This one's great. I have no complaints about this one at all. Really, really nice sprite. I tell you what, I've never been a big Spearow fan. Like, I've always kind of liked the Pidgey line a little bit more. Although I know in red and blue, like, the attack and speed's a little bit better, so you're better off to run Fearow. But this one is odd. I can't really make sense of the right half of the sprite with the wing and the body. I don't even really know where it begins, where it ends, like what's going on there. In its face, it looks shy, like it's kind of leaning its head in a way to indicate that it's like sleepy or shy, rather than ferocious like you would think a Spearow would be, because they're supposedly territorial. This one looks half asleep and shy and like it's injured or something. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Not a good one. Alright, Fearow. This one's detailed. This one's intricate. I like the detail on the feathers, on the wings, the beak, the head, the crest on the head, the eyes, the feet underneath. I mean, overall, really detailed, really well done sprite. My only issue with it is the wings kind of look like hair coming off of it a little bit. Like, they're kind of crammed. You know, obviously they were limited in space and how much they could do with the original sprites. This one has more detail than what you see in some of the other sprites, so for that, it gets points. But with the wings being kind of crammed in there, I think they could have had a little bit different pose that showed it a little more, I don't know, aggressive maybe is what I was maybe thinking it should be more about. Other than that, I do quite like this one. I'm not gonna lie, I've never been a big Ekans fan. I'm just not. And this sprite, boy, this is bad. He looks like a earthworm coming up out of a pot, like a clay pot that some kid made for an art project. And the pot was made to look like an earthworm. And the actual earthworm is coming up out of the pot. And he looks glad to see you. I mean, look at the face. There's nothing menacing, aggressive, nothing. He don't even look like a snake. He looks like a happy cartoon earthworm to me. And I am not liking it. Not one bit. So Arbok is the first one that I feel like is a major contrast and improvement from its pre-evolution. I mean, Arbok's sprite here is fantastic. Fantastic. The only thing I find a little bit weird about it is like the segmenting of the body and the tail, kind of going back to the earthworm thing. Like, it's not continuous and smooth, you know, like you see with some of its 3D models and stuff in the newer games. But other than that, this is really good. You know, almost what you would expect to see from like Gen 2. Not quite, but it's really good. I like this one. It's Pikachu, so immune from criticism, I can't say anything. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually like this one. I mean, the sparks, you know, the electric sparks coming off is really cool. A little different, you know, than what we've come to know Pikachu as now as the mascot of the franchise. You know, he's got the chunky thing going on here and so on. But aside from that, like, the tail's a little bit weird, a little bit different than what you would expect, with the lower half of the tail being kind of too skinny. Arms and legs are a little small. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, I definitely like some of the newer sprites of Pikachu a lot better, but not a bad sprite. I mean, not terrible anyway. I mean, it's Pikachu. What more can you say? I am actually a huge fan of this Raichu sprite. I don't know, it just looks like a chicken nugget that's coming to get you or something. I mean, he's got that chunky thing going on, but at the same time, he's like happy, but also intimidating at the same time. Like, he's really happy to come and zap you one. You know what I mean? It's just good. The coloring of it is great, which I know wasn't original to the original Game Boy games, but, you know, on GBC, it's really cool. I like the detail of the little curl coming off the ear. A really cool sprite. I like it a lot. Bad one. Those beady eyes do it for me. I mean, also, like, the body is not the same as Sandshrew is now. He just looks bumpy rather than having, like, the brick outline going on. And those beady eyes, man, it looks like a half-cooked armadillo waiting on the side of the road for somebody to adopt him or something. He looks sad. The eyes are weird. I don't know. Kind of bad. In this Sandslash sprite, I tell you what, this isn't much better than the Sandshrew sprite. I don't know. This one looks like the angry mother half-baked armadillo that's coming to get you when you either ran over the other one or you didn't adopt it or feed it like it wanted you to or something like this. And it doesn't look like Sandshrew all that much. I don't know. To me, this just looks like some sort of vague drawing of some kind of animal that someone saw once that they're trying to describe based on a really fuzzy memory and a very fleeting glance of what it actually looked like. I don't know. It's just not good. It's just kind of creepy looking. Not a fan of this sprite at all. Alright, Nidoran female. I actually kind of like this one. It's kind of cute. It looks like a jelly bean mixed with a rabbit, mixed with like a rat or something. I like it. It's a little simple, kind of similar to like the Rattata sprite. It almost looks like a figurine or something. Like it's not fully alive or something like that. Maybe just because it's a little bit too simple. But I understand it's a smaller Pokemon. It's a first stage. It's not evolved yet. I don't know. It's a little too rodent-like for me. And I've always kind of thought that was strange, considering that it evolves into a very reptilian, dinosaur, kaiju looking Pokemon in Nidoqueen. So it's kind of odd to me how rodent-like it looks. But other than that, it's not bad. Not great, but not bad. Nidorina. This one, like its nose looks flat, I think is part of it. The eyes are a little bit weird. There's something off about it. I don't know if it's too cartoony or what. I don't know. It just looks kind of stumpy. The pose is weird. Its face is odd. And I guess maybe part of it is because it goes from looking so rodent-like to looking more reptilian, maybe too suddenly. There's just something I don't like about this one. It's not terrible, but definitely not my favorite. Alright, Nidoqueen. I actually think Nidoqueen is an example of one of the better sprites from Gen 1. I actually really like this one. It's detailed. I like, the segmenting of the different parts of its body. The facial expression is nice. The pose is good. I feel like the perspective is good. It looks dangerous, but not necessarily aggressive, which I feel like kind of captures the personality of Nidoqueen pretty well. It's lizard-like, kind of, getting Triceratops vibes off of it. Personally, I really like this one. Probably in my top 10, maybe, favorite sprites from Red and Blue. No complaints. Very nice sprite. Ooh, Nidoran male. This one, I don't know. This one is not good. I don't know. It looks like a rotisserie chicken or something. And the eyes are weird. It's like jumping, but it's hard to tell because of how short and stubby its body is. So you don't know if it's jumping or if it's just laying down or something like that. The tooth coming out of the front of it. It just looks goofy. It looks like a generic enemy from an obscure platforming game from the late 80s. I don't know. It's just odd. This one's not good. It looks like a crazed rabbit that's missing all its hair with spikes on its back. And the thing about it is you could catch one of these right to the west of Viridian City on the way to the Indigo Plateau, and you could catch one of these Nidoran and evolve it to Nidorino and then get you a Moonstone and Mount Moon, and you can sweep the whole game with one of these guys. So they're very useful, but they don't look that pretty. So it is what it is. Nidorino is one of the best looking sprites in Red and Blue, bar none. It's just a fantastic sprite. The pose is fierce, the facial expression is fierce. I mean, it's already iconic, just given the opening animation sequence of the game, with Gengar versus Nidorino. Just really nice. Again, this one is one of those that's on par with what you would expect from Gen 2. It's just a nice sprite. I mean, the pose, the perspective, the expression, the spikes, it's just really well done. Probably one of my favorites, actually. Nidoking, the king of the Gen 1 sprites as far as I'm concerned. This one very well could be my favorite sprite from Red and Blue. Just fantastic. The pose is perfect. The expression is perfect. The horn is prominent coming out of the top of the head there. It just looks mean. It's detailed. All the segments of the armor on its body is there. It's just really nice. I don't know what more to add other than this very well could be the best sprite from Red and Blue. Clefairy, this is another one that is fantastic. It also has the same thing going on that the Squirtle sprite had, where the black around the edges are not that defined, but in this case it's okay for some reason. It looks exactly like Clefairy. It's cute. The feet being a little bit more prominent is cute. It looks like it's kind of bouncing. It's happy. All the detail is there. The face is nice. I honestly like this one better than the sprite for Clefable. It's just a really, really nice sprite. This one's not bad. Clefable isn't bad. It's not as good as Clefairy though, which is kind of surprising. A little disappointing. I mean, it's not bad. It's all there. I don't know, it's a little too cartoony. I think that's it. It's a little too cartoony. Not quite as detailed maybe as what you would hope. Although it's a really simple design, as were most of the Gen 1 Pokemon, but it's just got that red and blue jank factor. Just a little touch of it, if that makes sense. Not bad, but not as good as Clefairy. Vulpix in red and blue looks like a stuffed animal. I'm sorry to have to say that, but the face. Something with the face. It's the blunt feet. Like there's no ending to the legs. It just kind of has stumps for legs. Like a teddy bear or something to me. It's odd that like the back leg is like all blacked out for some reason, and the same on the lower right there. There's just something about it. Like the pose is weird. Like I would rather it be on all fours and like looking straight at you or something maybe. I mean, I guess the way that maybe they had it set up with this pose was to showcase the fact that it's, got the tails, the multiple tails. Yeah, it's not terrible, but I think for me, it's mostly the face, the pose, and the legs. The stumpy legs and the teddy bear face. Ninetales isn't bad. It's kind of got the weird, undefined edges on the outside of it, kind of similar to like what Squirtle had going on. The flame coming out of its mouth is a little bit cool. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. It's indicating that it's a fire type. It's got the weird eyes, like you see a lot with some of the Gen 1 sprites. And it looks a little too generic, a little too dog or fox or wolf-like to me. And I know that's probably where Ninetales, drew a lot of inspiration from, and basically the animal that it's based on. But at the same time, it looks a little too animal-like. It looks more like a generic animal than an actual Pokemon to me. I do like the shading around the tails. That's kind of a nice effect that gives it some depth. But other than that, it's just a little strange. The front leg coming out from behind on the left side there is a little strange. Like, where would the rest of its leg be? This one, again, just kind of has that original sprite jank factor going on. It's not the worst, but definitely not the best. Folks, I got 6 words for you. What is wrong with its eyes? Okay, the eyes are a slight improvement. They're still not quite right, but it's not as elongated as what you would think Wigglytuff is, and the ears are messed up too. Just not good. Okay, Zubat, obviously the most annoying Pokemon in Gen 1. Every 2 steps in Mount Moon or any other cave that you're in, there's Zubat, so you're going to see a lot of this sprite. The problem with this one is something about the coloring of the wings, and also the fact that the top half of the body doesn't have any color. I guess they did that for, like a shading thing or something, but I've always, for some reason, thought of this sprite as having like translucent wings. It's not bad, but it's not all that great either. It's hard to put my finger on what it is about this one that I don't like. It's something to do with the wings. Kind of generic looking, not my favorite Zubat sprite by any means. Not bad for Oddish. I think my only issue with this one is that it kind of looks like a Tamagotchi or something like that. It's a little too simple. There's no difference in coloring on the body with the feet and everything. It's just being all the one color makes it a little bit strange, so it looks a little too simple. The fact that the mouth is also green as well, and you basically just got single pixels for the eyes. It's not bad. It's a very, very basic design, and that's kind of part of the charm of Oddish, but it's also just a little too simple. Gloom is actually really nice, especially coming from Oddish. The particles around it is really cool, showing that it's aromatic. It's like giving off this, fragrance. The drool coming out of the mouth, with the mouth being red. The contrast of the white eyes against the dark body is really nice. I like the highlights on the leaves coming off of the flower or the bulb on the top of its head. Really a nice one, especially after Oddish's sprite. It's a really nice step up from that, and overall, just a really nice one. I'm a little conflicted on Vileplume's sprite. The flower is really nice. It's got some really nice detail there on the actual flower on its head. But the body is just not doing it. And I think I've seen this pointed out elsewhere, but the perspective as far as how the head is connecting to the flower is off. Like you would expect, to see that flower from that angle, you wouldn't be able to really see much of its body, if at all, if you were looking down on the top of the flower like you are here. So that's a little bit strange. Also the fact that, again, like with Oddish, the body being all one color, there's no real distinction between its body and its arms and its legs. And you've also got the one arm coming up and connecting into the flower. I'm not sure what that's about. And then the other arm connected on both ends to its body. So I'm not sure where the arm is attached. Like where's the attached part and where's the end of the arm? I'm not sure. The feet look kind of strange too, kind of bent at an awkward angle. Could have been really nice, but the way that the flower and the body aren't lining up from a perspective standpoint, just that kind of ruins it for me. This one is really nice. I really like the highlights on the claws and on the face, and also the fact that Paris is looking a lot more ominous, I think, than you see in other games. Paris is not all that intimidating of a Pokemon, I guess you could say. It's got a very simple design, but at the same time, this sprite captures that insect aspect of Paris, which makes complete sense given that it's a bug type. You have the mushroom on the back. He looks angry or disturbed, like he just turned over a rock and he's there and he's not very glad to see you. I really like this sprite for Paris. Honestly, probably one of the better ones in Gen 1. It's simple, but it's also really good at the same time. Big fan. Alright, Parasect. Similarly to Paris, this one I really like. The highlights on the claws again, the highlights on the mushroom body, which is basically taking over Pokemon at this stage in its evolution, is really nice. The claws are sharp and kind of intimidating looking. The eyes are kind of evil looking. It's a really nicely done sprite. I like the color in the colorized version. I like the lines at the top of the mushroom showing that it's growing like in real time, almost like it's emerging out of its back. The only thing about this one is the legs on the left side aren't there seemingly. But other than that, I do really like this one. I think it's a great one to follow up on Paris's really excellent sprite as well. Honestly, huge fan of this one too. Alright, Venonat. It's amazing how this is another bug type that you wouldn't think would be all that notable of a Pokemon. I mean, Venonat, generally speaking, isn't all that sought after or popular. Maybe there's some huge Venonat fans out there. But this sprite is really, really awesome. Just like with Butterfree's eyes, with the compound eyes effect, it's really cool how they did that. Just basic pixel grid, honestly, on the eyes, but it's a really nice touch. I also really like how the fur coming off of it is kind of wonky. It's kind of coming off in strings around the edges of its body. That's a really nice touch as well. The antennae are there. It's also cute at the same time. It's kind of one of those so ugly it's cute sort of things, like a pug dog or something like that. So I really, really like this one. It's, again, very simple. The body is all just that black color, but with the purplish highlights on the edges of the sprite, it basically conveys to you that it's purple in color at the same time. So this one's pretty ingenious, honestly, as simple as it is. I'm a huge, huge fan of this one too. Alright, Venomoth. This one I don't like quite as much as Venonat. For some reason, it just looks a little too much like an actual bug. I think that's kind of the case with some of the Gen 1 sprites. They look a little too much like an animal or the bug that they're actually based off of. But at the same time, this one's not bad at all. I do like the white highlights on the wings to show that they're kind of iridescent. The eyes are kind of cool, the effect that they have there. It just looks a little too much like just a bug to me instead of a Pokemon. And again, that's kind of the case with a lot of the Gen 1 sprites, but I do like this one, just not quite as much as Venonat's sprite. Still pretty good sprite. Alright, and Diglett. It's amazing how some of these very simple designs from Gen 1 had some really well implemented sprites. The effect of the dirt is fantastic. You've basically got 3 or 4 colors of pixels here, depicting the fact that it's coming up out of the dirt. Its head, you've got the highlight there, the shading to give it some depth. Honestly, as simple of a Pokemon as Diglett is, I'm really surprised at how well this sprite was done. It's cute, it's coming out of the dirt, it's just really well done. I don't really know what else to say about it other than it's just a really good sprite. In Dugtrio, once again, another example of a very simple Gen 1 Pokemon that has an excellent sprite. This one, they've got the angry expression showing that it's a little more serious, I guess, or a little more angry than Diglett was. You've got the dirt effect again with the various colored pixels showing that it's coming up out of the dirt. I like the symmetry involved here with the 2 behind the main one there. It's just really well done again. Very simple, but you've got the highlighting and the shading again used to give it some depth, give it some personality with the expression. Just a really well done one once again.
Alright, well that's all the sprites that we're going to look at for now. I hope you enjoyed the first part of our deep dive into all the sprites of the original 151 Pokemon from Pokemon Red and Blue. As far as my favorites go from this first group of 50, I have to say Venusaur, Charizard, Butterfree, Nidoqueen, Nidoking, Clefairy, and Venonat are probably my favorites from this first group that we looked at today. Venonat in particular surprised me. I forgot how great that sprite was. Well, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, do me a favor, give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for the next part in this series. Once again, really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.